The story of Muhammad, our 25th prophet. Prophet Muhammad was born in Mecca, Arabia, on the 29th of August 570 CE. His ancestors can be traced back to Prophet Ismail, otherwise known as Prophet Ishmael, the son of Prophet Ibrahim, otherwise known as Prophet Abraham. Prophet Muhammad's father died before he was born. His mother took care of him until he was 5 years old. When he turned 6, his mother passed away. His grandfather, named Abdul Muttalib, took care of him, but he too passed away in the next 2 years. So Prophet Muhammad's uncle, Abu Talib, then took care of him. Abu Talib was a well-respected leader of one of the Quraysh tribes in Mecca. The Quraysh tribes were merchants and controlled trade in Mecca. When Prophet Muhammad was 12 years old, he accompanied his uncle Abu Talib on a journey to Syria, a long journey across the desert along with their caravans. They would stop at a certain monastery on their journey. There was a monk called Bahira. The uncle introduced Prophet Muhammad to Bahira. The monk, on meeting Prophet Muhammad, said to Abu Talib, "Return with the boy and protect him from the hatred of the Jews, as they are a very jealous nation. Your nephew will have an outstanding life ahead of him." Abu Talib listened to the monk's advice, but did not quite understand what was meant by it all. They returned to Mecca. On their return, nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Prophet Muhammad grew up a fine young man. He was obedient. The community thought highly of him. He possessed great wisdom, morals, and exceedingly good manners and conduct. These qualities were very rare from among the people that inhabited Mecca at the time. Everyone was fond of him and liked his good character. Prophet Muhammad was given the title Al-Amin, which means the faithful or the trustworthy. Prophet Muhammad, like any other children of the time, would assist with the day-to-day chores of the family. He would help out by taking care of his uncle's flocks. He led a quiet life. Quite often he would be saddened on seeing the common quarrels among the people of Mecca, often resulting in bloodshed. They had little or no respect for the laws that they should be following. When Prophet Muhammad was 25 years old, he travelled once again to Syria. This is where Prophet Muhammad met Khadija. Khadija was a noble and beautiful woman, coming from a very wealthy family. She was a widow. Many men wanted her hand in marriage, but she did not have the desire to get married again. Khadija was looking for someone trustworthy to help her trade. She then got introduced to Prophet Muhammad. She knew he was an orphan and was poor, but he was from a very noble family. She was drawn to his good character. He was known for being the most honest. Prophet Muhammad soon started working for her. So, followed by a servant of Khadija, Prophet Muhammad set out on his first business trip in charge of one of Khadija's caravans. On their return, the servant gave Khadija the most outstanding report of Prophet Muhammad's conduct. The servant explained about how well Prophet Muhammad had treated him personally. He also explained how Prophet Muhammad had sold all the merchandise that was given to him by Khadija, purchased more with the Prophet, and sold that as well. Khadija was very impressed with the report. Khadija fell very much in love with Prophet Muhammad. Although Prophet Muhammad was 15 years younger than her, she decided she wanted to marry him. Khadija sent her sister to Prophet Muhammad to offer her hand in marriage to him. Prophet Muhammad married Khadija, and they was very happy together. Prophet Muhammad and Khadija lived a happy and wealthy life for many years after their marriage. Prophet Muhammad continued in his role as a merchant, further increasing his good reputation. He also took a keen interest in public affairs, often assisting the poor. When Prophet Muhammad was 35 years old, he settled a dispute. A big dispute that could put Arabia into a series of battles and wars. This was the time when the Kaaba in Mecca was being rebuilt. There were many tribes there, and the tribes wanted the honour of raising and placing the black stone, a holy relic that was brought to earth by Prophet Adam. The same stone that Angel Jibril, otherwise known as Angel Gabriel, gave to Prophet Ibrahim, otherwise known as Prophet Abraham, to finalise the construction of the Kaaba when he originally built it. The tribes disputed and fought among themselves. each wanting the right to place the black stone in its final position. It was agreed to settle the matter that they would have to listen to the first man that was to enter the gate where they was gathering, and the man that entered would decide who would place the black stone. So they waited. The first man that entered the gate was Prophet Muhammad, so the tribes explained that issue to him. After listening to all the people of the tribes, Prophet Muhammad ordered that the stone should be placed on a cloth, and each tribe would hold a piece of the cloth, so they all would have the honour of raising and placing the stone on the Kaaba. All the tribes were happy with this suggestion and followed the idea given to them. The Kaaba was completely rebuilt with no other issues. Prophet Muhammad undertook the education of his uncle's son Ali, Prophet Muhammad's cousin. He brought him up. 1 year after that, he adopted another one of his uncle's sons, Aqil. Prophet Muhammad had 3 sons and 4 daughters, but none of his sons survived. Prophet Muhammad was very saddened by this. He found much consolation in Ali. A group of Arabs captured a young boy named Zaid, taking him from his mother. The Arabs sold the boy in the market. Zaid was purchased by a family member of Khadija. The family member gifted Zaid to her. As a gift, Khadija gave the boy to Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad became attached to the boy. He would refer to the boy as Al-Habib, meaning the beloved. Zaid followed Prophet Muhammad's ways. The young boy had good morals and a spiritual mind. Zaid's parents were still grieving at the loss of their son. They would pray for the return of their lost son. One day Zaid's parents visited Mecca to perform the holy pilgrimage. When they was there, they saw their son Zaid and was very relieved to see he was still alive. The father took all his gold and went to Prophet Muhammad to purchase back his son from the owner. Prophet Muhammad refused the gold and said to his father that there is a way that you can get your son back without giving me the gold. I will call the boy. If he comes to you, he will be free to leave with you. But if he chooses to stay with me, I will not force him to go with you. So it was agreed, and Zaid's father called the boy. So the boy was asked to make a decision. Without hesitation, the boy said he would stay with Prophet Muhammad. His father asked him, "Do you not want to stay with your parents, or would you prefer to remain as a slave?" Zaid explained that he was treated with love and respect and very much liked the qualities of this man and did not want to leave him. Prophet Muhammad was very touched by this, which led him to proclaim that Zaid was now his son. Zaid was renamed Zaid bin Muhammad. They held this close relationship for the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad was now near the age of 40. The people in his community were very barbaric, constantly fighting with each other. Many of them were idolaters and were very obsessed with superstition. This behavior oppressed him, so Prophet Muhammad would often retreat away from all of this, secluding himself in a cave of Mount Hijra. He would meditate and pray in the cave. He would think deeply about Allah and the wonders of the universe. On one of these nights, an angel appeared before him. Prophet Muhammad could not believe it. It was the angel Jibril, otherwise known as Angel Gabriel. The angel instructed Prophet Muhammad to read. Prophet Muhammad, although highly intelligent, had never been schooled in reading or writing. Prophet Muhammad responded to the angel and said, "I cannot read." Angel Jibril took hold of him and squeezed him tightly. Angel Jibril said again, "Read." Prophet Muhammad said again, "I do not read." Angel Jibril squeezed Prophet Muhammad again, so tightly that Prophet Muhammad thought that he may pass out. The angel Jibril said, "Read, in the name of your Lord and Cherisher, who created man out of a clot of congealed blood. Read in the name of your Lord, the most generous, who has taught writing by the pen, taught man which he knew not." The Prophet Muhammad repeated the words with a trembling heart. Prophet Muhammad, after this experience, was perplexed and made his way back home. When he entered his home, he said to his wife whilst trembling, "Wrap me up, wrap me up." She wrapped him in a towel until he calmed down and the fear was gone. He explained to Khadija what had happened to him. He asked her if she thought he had gone mad. She replied and said, "Allah forbid. He will surely not let such a thing happen for you. Speak the truth. You are faithful in trust. you assist your fellow men. Khadija then went to her cousin Rawara ibn Nawfal. He was old and blind. Rawara knew the scriptures very well and had translated them to Arabic. When Khadija explained what had happened to Prophet Muhammad, Rawara cried out, saying that this is a Holy Spirit that came to Prophet Musa, otherwise known as Prophet Moses. Your husband would be the prophet for his people chosen by Allah. Prophet Muhammad would continue to receive revelations for the rest of his life. It was written down and memorized by his companions. Prophet Muhammad knew that all the people had to hear the message from Allah. He started preaching to the people in the community the message of Allah that was being sent to him. The first few years of this mission, he preached to his family and close friends only. The first woman to convert was his wife Khadija, then his cousin Ali, his servant Zayd, and the first free adult man was his good friend Abu-Bakr, an influential and popular figure within Mecca. Prophet Muhammad later received the command from Allah to preach openly. The people who were the guardians of the Kaaba were known as the Quraysh, which had separate tribes. The Kaaba was a great source of profit for their city, attracting many merchants for trade. Prophet Muhammad's preachings threatened their interests, so they became hostile to Prophet Muhammad and his followers. He received constant torment and rejection from his people who were obsessed with idol worship. But he did not let this stop his mission, educating the people with the teachings of Allah. After 3 years of struggle, Prophet Muhammad had secured followers. His enemies had started plotting against him. Prophet Muhammad preached that everyone was equal in front of Allah, challenging the authority of local priests and elders of the city. So one night they all gathered together to suppress the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. They had decided that each family member of the tribe should take upon the task of ridding the followers of Prophet Muhammad, the followers of Islam. So each household would torture its own family members, relatives and slaves that followed Prophet Muhammad. They were tortured and thrown into prison for their beliefs. But Prophet Muhammad was left out of this, due to the fact that his uncle was Abu Talib, a leader of a Quraysh tribe, and his close friend was Abu-Bakr, who was very wealthy and popular within the community of Mecca. The priests and elders tried to stop Prophet Muhammad and tempt him to join their religion. They sent a man called Utbah ibn Rabi to meet with Prophet Muhammad. He said, "You are full of great qualities, yet you have denounced our gods. So I am here to make a proposition to you. If you want to acquire dignity, honor and riches, then we are willing to offer you a fortune larger than what we even possess. We will make you our chief. Everything moving forward will be consulted through you. We will make you our ruler." Prophet Muhammad listened to him and responded by reciting the first 13 verses of Surah Fussilat. Prophet Muhammad, after doing so, praised Allah. He then explained about paradise as a gift to anyone that believed in the one true God, Allah. Prophet Muhammad reminded him of the destruction of the people of Ad and Thamud. After Prophet Muhammad had finished, he said, "This is my reply to your proposition, so take what action you find best." When their plan to tempt Prophet Muhammad had failed, they approached his uncle Abu Talib. So Abu Talib tried to get him to stop his preaching to the people. Prophet Muhammad said, "Even if you were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left hand to stop me from preaching Islam, I would never stop." Prophet Muhammad's mind was overcome by the thought of his uncle being willing to desert him, and he went to leave from his uncle. Abu Talib called after him, asking him to come back. Prophet Muhammad came back to him, and Abu Talib said to Prophet Muhammad, "Say whatever you please, by Allah, I will not desert you." After their attempts to stop Prophet Muhammad did not work, the priests of all the different tribes started publicly persecuting the supporters of Prophet Muhammad. During this period, there was a Christian king named Al-Nagashi who ruled over Abyssinia. Prophet Muhammad had heard of this king, especially the king's kindness, hospitality and tolerance. Prophet Muhammad advised his followers to emigrate to Abyssinia. They emigrated in small groups to avoid detection of the tyrants in Mecca. This happened during the 5th year of Prophet Muhammad's mission. Prophet Muhammad remained in Mecca with a few devout followers, suffering misery and oppression. When the king received the new community who were suffering, they were welcomed with a kind reception, as they shared the same belief in one God. This news got back to the evil priests in Mecca, and they decided that they would not leave them alone in peace. They sent 2 men to the king to bring them all back. The king summoned the fugitives and asked them what they had to say for themselves. Jafar, the son of Abu Talib and the brother of Ali, spoke to represent them. He said to the king, "O king, we were plunged into the depths of barbarism. We adored idols. We disregarded everything, and we had no law. Then Allah raised a man from among us who was pure and honest. He taught us to worship Allah and forbade us from worshipping the idols. He taught us to speak the truth and to be faithful. We believe in him and we have accepted his teachings. His followers were persecuted, forcing us back into worship of the idols again. When we found no safety in among them, we came to your kingdom, trusting you to save us from them." When the king heard this speech, he asked the 2 men from Mecca to return to their land and not to interfere with the immigrants. So Prophet Muhammad's followers sought refuge in foreign lands. Prophet Muhammad continued his preachings even against the opposition he faced. When the communities would mock him, they would ask for a sign, a miracle. He responded by saying, "I have not been sent to work wonders, but I have been sent to preach to you." But they insisted, unless they saw a sign, they would not believe or accept his message. He responded further by explaining that even with the previous prophets, the miracles they had performed had failed to even convince, giving examples of the past prophets sent by Allah. Prophet Muhammad would assert to the disbelievers that the Quran itself, which has been revealed, was an everlasting miracle, a book of blessings, which is a warning for the whole world, a complete guidance that explains everything necessary, free from discrepancy, error and falsehood, a true guidance and light to all. Later the priests approached Abu Talib again, asking him to abandon his nephew, Prophet Muhammad. He was too honourable and declared to them that he would protect Prophet Muhammad against any harm. The disbelievers continued to torture the believers, but Prophet Muhammad continued gaining more followers. After this, there was a notable event that took place. This was the conversion of Umar bin al-Huda. He was one of the biggest enemies of Islam and Prophet Muhammad. He tormented the Muslims and everyone feared him. One day in anger, he intended to kill Prophet Muhammad. When he approached the house of Prophet Muhammad, he was stopped by a man. When the man spoke with Umar and realized his intentions, he told Umar that Umar's sister and her husband had embraced Islam, so why don't you deal with matters closer to your own family? Umar was furious at hearing this news, so Umar headed towards his sister's house. When he got closer to the house, he could hear recitation of the Quran. He knocked on the door of the house. When his sister heard the knock on the door, she and her husband hurried to hide the books that they were reciting. When Umar entered the house, he was angry and demanded to know what was the recitation that he could hear from outside the house. His sister said to him that it was the sound of them talking to each other, but Umar knew the sound of the Quran, so he knew she was telling him a lie. He asked them if they had become Muslims, and they told him that they had. Umar was even more angry and struck the husband. Umar's sister tried to defend her husband, and Umar struck her as well. Blood came from her face. She stood up and said, "You are an enemy of Allah. You have hit me just because I believe in Allah. Whether you like it or not, I testify that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his slave and messenger. Do whatever you will." Umar stood there after hearing his sister, and with the blood running down her face, he asked of her to share the recital that he had heard when he approached her house. So his sister asked him to wash and clean himself up before she recited those words. Umar agreed with her, so he went away and cleaned himself up and then came back once he had done so. When Umar returned, his sister recited the words of the Quran. Umar's eyes filled with tears, as the words had such a miraculous effect on his mind. Umar said, "The one who has spoken these words needs to be worshipped." Umar then left the house and rushed to Prophet Muhammad. When the followers saw Umar coming, they feared his intentions, so they tried to stop him approaching the Prophet. Prophet Muhammad asked him, "Why did you come here?" Umar, with humility and joy, said, "O Messenger of Allah, I have come for no reason except to say, I believe in Allah and His Messenger." Prophet Muhammad was overcome with joy and cried out that Allah is great. Umar's conversion had a big effect on the whole community, gaining even more followers of Islam. Many more people now followed Prophet Muhammad, so this led to the disbelievers of Prophet Muhammad to make his life even more difficult. They imposed a ban of all people interacting with Prophet Muhammad's family and a complete ban on any trade with them. This ban caused famine. During this time, Prophet Muhammad and his followers would mostly have to stay inside their homes. Therefore, Islam made no more further progress. Prophet Muhammad was forced by this boycott to leave the city, living on the eastern skirts of Mecca due to the ban imposed. The ban on Prophet Muhammad's family was lifted after 3 years, so he returned to the city of Mecca. The following years, his uncle Abu Talib and Prophet Muhammad's wife Khadija died. He had lost his uncle, who protected him from his enemies, and his most loving companion, his wife Khadija. After Abu Talib died, the Meccans saw this as a pass to make their persecutions of the Muslims even fiercer. Prophet Muhammad was weighed down by the loss of his uncle and wife, so along with the few remaining followers, was forced to seek refuge in the neighbouring city of Taif in order to spread the word of Allah. He was met with great hostility. After 1 month of this hardship, he departed from Taif and returned back to Mecca. One night in Mecca, 1 year before the migration to Medina, Prophet Muhammad was sleeping when Angel Jibril appeared before him. He opened Prophet Muhammad's chest, removed his heart, and washed it with Zamzam water. He then brought a vessel made of gold containing wisdom and faith. He emptied the vessel into the chest of Prophet Muhammad and closed up his chest. Angel Jibril then woke the Prophet. Prophet Muhammad then saw a white horse-like animal with wings on each side of it. Prophet Muhammad mounted the animal and took off and flew to Jerusalem. This part of the journey is called Al-Isra. After dismounting the animal, Prophet Muhammad entered Al-Aqsa mosque and prayed. He then saw his predecessors, Musa, otherwise known as Moses, Isa, otherwise known as Jesus, and Ibrahim, otherwise known as Abraham, all standing before him. Prophet Muhammad then went on to lead them in prayer. Prophet Muhammad mounted the animal again, heading towards the heavens. This ascension is known as Al-Miraj, or the night journey. Angel Jibril led Prophet Muhammad to the lote tree. At this point, Allah spoke to Prophet Muhammad directly and revealed to him the last verses of the Quran, Al-Baqarah. During this journey, it is when Allah made the daily prayers compulsory. Initially, it was 50 daily prayers for Prophet Muhammad and his followers. Prophet Muhammad came down from Allah and met Prophet Musa. Musa asked about the acts of worship that were prescribed to Prophet Muhammad and his followers. When Prophet Muhammad told him, Prophet Musa told Prophet Muhammad that your people would not be able to perform 50 prayers each day, explaining that he had tried the people before him and deal with the children of Israel, and it was very difficult. Go back to our Lord and ask him to reduce the burden on your people. Prophet Muhammad did as he was told and went back to Allah. Allah then reduced it by 10, but when he returned back to Prophet Musa again, he suggested that he return to Allah to ask for further reduction of the daily prayers for the same reason that the followers would not be able to fulfill them. Prophet Muhammad continued to go back and forth until Allah said that there would be 5 daily prayers every day, each being rewarded as 10, making them equivalent to 50 daily prayers. Prophet Muhammad then met Prophet Musa once more, informing him of the 5 daily prayers. Prophet Musa said, "Go back once more," but Prophet Muhammad said, "I have asked my Lord, and now I am shy to face him. I accept this and submit to him." On this journey, Prophet Muhammad was taken to paradise. He saw beautiful dwellings made of pearls and soils made of musk. He was also taken to hell. He saw some scenes of the future of people receiving punishments for different sins that they had committed. Prophet Muhammad then returned home to his bed that was still warm from him leaving it. Prophet Muhammad would preach publicly at the annual pilgrimage that would take place in Mecca. This was a pilgrimage that was originally instructed by Prophet Ibrahim. Islam was attracting more followers. Those followers would return to their cities and attract even more believers when told of the news of a prophet arising from the Arabs. Islam spread rapidly in the region. At this point, there was scarcely a house that did not have some Muslims in it. This made the disbelievers even more angry. The leaders now wanted to kill Prophet Muhammad, so it was decided that one man from each of the tribes was to attack the Prophet simultaneously. But an angel informed Prophet Muhammad of their plan. The angel asked the Prophet to leave Mecca immediately. The Prophet left with Abu-Bakr on the night he was to be assassinated. They went south of Mecca to a mountain cave of Fuwa. After staying there for 3 nights, they travelled north to Medina. When the disbelievers heard of their escape, they put up a reward of 100 camels for whoever caught the Prophet. Despite of this, the Prophet arrived safely in Medina. This event is known as the Hijra, and the Islamic calendar begins with this event. The people of Medina welcomed Prophet Muhammad warmly. Slowly, the remaining believers back in Mecca left and joined the Prophet in Medina, leaving behind their homes and possessions. When they settled in Medina, Medina was ruled by many different tribes. The tribes would quarrel with each other. Prophet Muhammad brought peace to the land and things settled down. The people of Medina united with Islam, forgetting their differences with each other, establishing a brotherhood between themselves, including many Jewish inhabitants. The first thing Prophet Muhammad did in Medina was to build a mosque to worship Allah. He then established their rights and obligations, giving them clear understanding to live in an upright fashion. A commonwealth was organized by Prophet Muhammad. After this migration had completed, the enemies of Islam increased their assaults from all sides. Prophet Muhammad put Medina in a state of military discipline. Notable battles took place. The Battle of Badr, which consisted of the Quraysh idolaters from Mecca marching on Medina with 1,000 men, facing only 300 Muslims. The Muslims gathered insight to their enemies' intentions of attacking them, so the Muslims occupied the valley of Badr, situated near the sea between Mecca and Medina, and the Meccans were driven back with great loss. The Battle of Uhud was the next battle between the Quraysh and the Muslims. The Battle of Uhud was fought near Medina, about 4 miles to the north of Medina. The idolaters wanted revenge for the Battle of Badr. This time they had an army of about 3,000 men. They made preparations of their army by equipping 700 of them with coats of mail, and they had 200 horses. The Prophet was going to receive them in Medina, but decided against it, so he marched heading 1,000 men with 100 wearing coats of mail, and no more than 1 horse besides his own. Stopping at Mount Uhud, 300 of the men retreated back to Medina, reducing the Prophet's army to 700. The Prophet's army secured the hills behind them and protected themselves with 50 well-positioned archers repelling the enemy. The archers were advised not to leave their posts no matter what. Prophet Muhammad's army fought with superiority, but due to the archers abandoning their positions, thinking that they had won the battle, the tide quickly changed, with the Prophet's army being surrounded from the back due to the archers coming out of position. Prophet Muhammad nearly lost his life that day, being struck down with a shower of stones, wounded in the face and having a tooth broken. The Quraysh, however, were exhausted and failed to follow up on their advantage by driving the Muslims from the heights of Uhud or attacking Medina. The next battle was known as the Battle of the Trench. This happened in the same year as the Battle of Uhud. All the enemies of Islam stirred up tribes to do battle with the Muslims. an army of 10,000 men marched towards Medina, camping by Mount Yahud close to the city. The Muslims could only gather 3,000 men ready to do battle. They dug a deep trench and planned to fight on the defensive, as they now felt threatened by the Jewish hypocrites that inhabited their own town of Medina, the tribe of Qurayza. The Jews were in violation of their pledge with the Prophet and had secretly joined the Quraysh, materially assisting the incoming raiders. Every time the enemy made attempt to cross the trench, they were fiercely repulsed by the Muslims. Disunion arose within the opposing army, their provisions became less. The Muslim army only suffered around 1 to 5 casualties, while the enemy lost almost 80% of theirs. One night their tents were blown away and their lights were extinguished by the rain, so the Quraysh army fled. The Jews, consequently, for the breaking of the pledge, were besieged and to surrender at discretion. They were charged for their treacherous conduct and put to death. 6 years had now passed since the migration from Mecca to Medina. Prophet Muhammad and his followers' hearts were compelled to return to their birthplace and to return to the sacred house of the Kaaba. As the season of the pilgrimage approached, Prophet Muhammad announced his intention to the believers to visit the holy town of Mecca. Prophet Muhammad and some 800 followers made their way to Mecca to set out on the pilgrimage. When they were close by, the Prophet sent an envoy to ask the Quraysh for permission to fulfill the pilgrimage. The envoy was maltreated by the Meccans. After much difficulty, a treaty was concluded, agreeing that all hostilities were to cease for a 10-year period with all Muslims and Muslim allies. It was agreed that the Muslims should go back on this occasion and that they would be permitted the following year to complete the pilgrimage, allowing them a total of 3 days in Mecca. The following year came, the city of Mecca was evacuated by its inhabitants, and as permitted, the pilgrimage was completed peacefully. Prophet Muhammad's fame had now spread far and wide. Many different delegations from all parts of Arabia came to visit the Prophet, learning the teachings of the Prophet and becoming followers of Islam. Prophet Muhammad sent many of his companions who knew the Quran to new lands, preaching Islam to the people living there. Prophet Muhammad also wrote letters to several kings and rulers, inviting them to embrace Islam. Al-Nagashi, the king of Abyssinia, was among the first rulers to accept Islam, followed by many other kings and rulers. About 2 years later after this, the disbelievers violated the treaty that was held and attacked allies of the Prophet. The men who were attacked managed to escape and took shelter in Mecca. They sought the help of Prophet Muhammad to save their lives. Prophet Muhammad received their letters confirming their reports of being attacked. Prophet Muhammad then marched towards Mecca with 3,000 men. When they arrived to Mecca, Prophet Muhammad's followers from the neighbouring lands had joined them, making them total over 10,000 men. Prophet Muhammad sent a message to the people inside the city of Mecca that anyone remaining in their home or in the Kaaba would be safe. The men entered Mecca without the need to fight. Prophet Muhammad went directly to the Kaaba. He praised Allah for their peaceful triumph of entering back into the city of Mecca. Prophet Muhammad then pointed at the idols and said, "Truth has come, and falsehood will neither start, nor will it reappear." The idols were destroyed one by one. The Kaaba was cleansed of the remaining idols, some 360 of them. The Prophet then stood by the Kaaba and said to the inhabitants, "O disbelievers, what do you think I am about to do with you? I will treat you as Prophet Yusuf, otherwise known as Prophet Joseph, treated his brothers. There is no reproach against you. Go to your homes and you are all free." The people of Mecca accepted Islam, including the enemies of the Prophet. A few of his enemies had fled Mecca upon the Prophet's entry, but when they received the assurance of no retaliation, as well as no compulsion in religion, they all came back. Within a year, almost all of Arabia had accepted Islam. When the sacred month had come around in February 632 CE, Prophet Muhammad was determined to complete what is known today as the farewell pilgrimage. Prophet Muhammad performed his last pilgrimage with around 130,000 men and women. Before completing all the rites of the pilgrimage, he assembled the masses on top of Mount Arafat and spoke to everyone, giving his last sermon. The Prophet concluded his sermon by exclaiming, "O Lord, I have fulfilled my message and accomplished my work." The assembled multitude, all in one voice, cried, "Yeah, verily you have." The Prophet again exclaimed, "O Lord, I beseech you, bear witness to it." Having performed all the ceremonies of the pilgrimage rigorously, so that his example might be followed by all Muslims for all succeeding ages to come, the Prophet returned with his followers to Medina. 2 months later, Prophet Muhammad fell ill. He continued to lead the public prayers until 3 days prior to his death. He died on Monday the 8th of June 632 CE. This was 11 years after the Hijra to Medina. Prophet Muhammad's body was then cleaned and perfumed. There is dispute as to where his body should be buried, but Abu-Bakr affirmed that he had heard the Prophet say that a prophet should be buried at the very spot he had died. A grave was dug accordingly. His body was buried and the usual rites were performed by those who were present for the burial. Prophet Muhammad lived a modest and simple life. During the days he was always busy, performing many roles required of him, as a head of state, commander, chief of justice, arbitrator, as well as many other roles. At night he was devoted, spending 1 to 2/3 in prayer and meditation. Prophet Muhammad's possessions only consisted of mats, blankets, jugs, and other simple things, even though he was a ruler of the whole of Arabia. I have conveyed a simple and brief explanation of the story of Prophet Muhammad. But there are many other stories of Prophet Muhammad, his beloved family members and his beloved companions. May Allah forgive my shortcomings. Prophet Muhammad was given the Quran, the final revelation of Allah. Prophet Muhammad was the final messenger sent by Allah to the entirety of humanity, known as the seal of the prophets. Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him,